Hello and welcome to Radyo Kapwa on CKUT 90.3 FM, your community radio station where we celebrate diversity and inclusion every day, and especially where all Filipinos are Filipino enough. So on the occasion of International Women's Day, we would like to take a moment to recognize and honor the contributions of women around the world. From the activists who fought for women's suffrage and equality to the scientists, artists, and entrepreneurs who continue to break barriers and challenge stereotypes, women have played a vital role in shaping our society as we know it. Today, we're going to hear from an incredible woman you guys probably have already heard of by now. She's a musician and happens to be one of the audio engineers of this show, the absolutely fundamental part of this amazing team. Welcome home, Lorra. Okay, so Lorra, thank you for putting me on Radyo Kapwa. I am super grateful for you. Laura's going to talk about her experience as a kid, the expectations her parents had, for her, and what she did with her talent. So you're definitely going to want to stick around for this episode today. A wonderful conversation with Radyo Kapwa on CKUT 90.3 FM. You're listening to Live My Life by Twelly.
Hey, YB, that pipe him up, bro.
Stick around.
What I like, this is what I like. Love Ferrari, got the full beam on the lights. Get the keys, then I go. Take them Rari on the road. Is it a problem? I just wanna live my life. I like ruby diamonds, princess cuts. I like all them different sizes. Philly Patek is so loud, so I'll be quiet. If I told you I ain't like these Louboutins, then I'll be lying. Don't be all up in my business. Kind of money, I don't care about your feelings. You'll see, I'm back up on my bullshit. 100 on the dash, I be running through these millions. What I like, this is what I like. Love Ferrari, got the full beam on the lights. Get the keys, then I go. Take them Rari on the road. Is it a problem? I just wanna live my life. We be where the vibe is. Catching flights, we collecting all the mileage. I'm a savage, I be flying in the private jet. Might just buy a rollie when I cash this check. Too much on my mind, tryna find what's next. Get the money dance, when in France I flex. Pop a bottle, shake some ass, get the bag and hit the dash. I be coolin' with the gang, poppin' tags in upper class. Can't tell you what you don't need to know, but you can see I'm living comfortable. Upload a bank and have a blast, lead them haters in the past. In New York I throw some bands, leave for Cali, hit the gas, hit the gas. Don't be all up in my business. Kind of money, I don't care about your feelings. You'll see, I'm back up on my bullshit. 100 on the dash, I be running through these millions. What I like, this is what I like. Love Ferrari, got the full beam on the lights. Get the keys, then I go. Take them Rari on the road. Is it a problem? I just wanna live my life. What I like, this is what I like. Love Ferrari, got the full beam on the lights. Get the keys, then I go. Take them Rari on the road. Is it a problem? I just wanna live my life.
Oh no, oh yeah, no, I don't wanna see you with nobody else. So tell me why you're standing there alone all by yourself. No, I know you see me staring too, but I won't let you want me to. Guess I'll play my cool. Let me set the mood. Midnight calls, I was still stuck waiting. Now you tryna play, I hold me on. We could play it cool. You can set the mood. Oh, I hate space in between us, baby. And I can't make it without you, baby. I'm foolish, stupid. Help me out, I'm clueless. But I got a feeling that I need you around, baby. And they can't rain up between us, baby. And I can't keep myself falling for you, baby. I'm foolish, stupid. Help me out, I'm clueless. I got a feeling that I need you around. I hate space in between us, baby. Now I can't make it without you, maybe. I'm foolish, stupid. Help me out, I'm clueless. But I got a feeling that I need you around. I hate space in between us, baby. And I can't make it without you, baby. I'm foolish, stupid. Help me, I'm clueless. But I got a feeling that I need you around. Oh, and they can't rain in between us, baby. And I can't keep myself on for you, baby. I'm foolish, stupid. Help me, I'm clueless. But I got a feeling that I need you around.
Bon après-midi. Once again, you just listened to Live My Life by Twelly and Space in Between by John Concepcion and Yana. Next up, it's time to get the inside scoop or news in the Philippines. Thank you, John Marvin, for keeping us informed.
Magandang hapon sa inyong lahat. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is John Marvin Reyes. I am a youth leader and community organizer here bringing you important news back home in the Philippines. The article is from CTV News with the title, Canada opens new application processing center in the Philippines to help boost immigration. Canada is opening a new visa application processing center within its embassy in the Philippines in an effort to boost immigration. The Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship, Sean Fraser, said the new center is meant to bolster application processing as Canada tries to meet its planned immigration increases over the next few years. Canada is set to welcome a record number of newcomers in the years ahead to fuel our economic growth. This will give us an advantage in the global race for talent and support and key sectors and industries, Fraser said in a news release Friday. Ottawa previously announced plans to ramp up immigration's level to address labor shortages and demographic changes that threaten the country's future. Canada is poised to see 465,000 new permanent residents in 2023, 485,000 in 2024, and 500,000 in 2025 if its immigration levels plan goals are met. The prairies stand to benefit from the most economic growth spurred by newcomers, according to a Desjardins report from early February. Canada saw a record number of immigrants last year as pandemic delays in processing immigration applications surged, with about 1.3 million applications taking over to process the government's service standards at the end of July 2022. Since those delays, Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada, or IRCC, said it has reduced its overall backlog by nearly 500,000 applications. At the end of November 2022, IRCC said it had processed approximately 4.8 million applications, nearly twice the 2.5 million processed during the same period in 2021. The new application processing center located in Canada's embassy in Manila will be staffed by 37 employees in an effort to support Canada's Indo-Pacific strategy and accommodate high levels of visa applications from around the world. The government says Canada's Indo-Pacific strategy involves investing resources in the region, as well as building knowledge and capacity to engage that set the pace for the future and prosperity for our economy, security, and stability. The strategy also includes promoting peace in the region, expanding trade, investment and supply chain resilience, and building a sustainable and green future. Reggie Valdez, the Liberal member of the Parliament for Mississauga Streetsville, said the new processing center will expand Canada's presence abroad and help facilitate the process for those who want to visit, study, work, or move permanently to Canada. Canada Indo-Pacific strategy is crucial in addressing the impact of the region on Canadians, including the Filipino community. The opening of the new application processing center in Manila is a strategic investment that will benefit Filipinos by providing more efficient processing of visas and supporting Canada's planned increases to immigration levels, Valis said in a release. The government says 960,000 people of the Philippine origin live in Canada, while more and more Filipino citizens visit their family and friends in the country, study at Canadian colleges and universities, or move to Canada permanently, according to data from 2021 census. The article I just read you was written by Joey Chinny and published on March 3rd, 2023. Thank you so much for listening. Maraming salamat sa pakikinig. Once again, this is John Marvin Reyes, delivering you Philippine news from abroad.
Magandang hapon, bonjour, hello, and welcome to Radio Kapwa on CKUT 90.3. My name is Desiree, and I am joined here today with France, Vero, and Laura, our sound engineer. We have a really, really special and exciting show today. We are going to get to know Laura, our amazing and talented sound engineer, a little bit better. So for those of you who don't know, that beautiful jingle that you just heard at the beginning of all our episodes and at the end of all of our episodes was created by Laura. So before we get into that, before we dive into Laura, we love to start every episode with an icebreaker to get our feet wet. So today's icebreaker is any embarrassing public speaking or talent show or performance moments. So I will go first, and I have one that's very specific. It's grade 6 end of year show in the gym. The entire school is there, and somehow I was asked to play the piano. And like many Filipinos, most of us were forced, at least for me, it felt forced to play the piano, and I honestly hated it, and I hated my teacher. So here I am, grade 6, in front of the entire school playing the piano. I don't even remember what song I played, but I got up there, started playing, and mid-song could not remember the song, and I completely blacked out. And then it was literally like a na stop, then started over, na stop. And then I think I did it a third time, and then you started to hear the giggles. And then I shit you not, I looked at the crowd. I'm sick. I'm in grade 6. How old is that? I don't even know how old. That's like 12.
Like 11, 12.
Yeah. I looked at the entire school and said, I don't remember it. And then I got up, and like it's elevated. It's the gym, and there was a stage in the gym. So I'm elevated, and I walked off. And that moment is still with me. There's a lot of feelings actually that came up in a conversation like therapy session recently to revisit feelings blocked from that. So yes.
Oh my gosh, Des, I feel for 11, 12-year-old Des. And the funny thing is, when we put together this icebreaker question, it was similar for me. It was totally like a grade 5, grade 6 moment. And I'm wondering if it's because I don't know, like I know we're constantly working on our like self-esteem and like our self-confidence, but like it's so different when you're younger. And like now I'm like, whatever, good for you. You advocated for yourself. You're like, I don't like this. I don't remember. I'm out. But that's like our adult lens that can look at it that way. But when you're young, you're like, this was the most embarrassing moment of my life. So similar for me, I don't know. I always had this thing. I guess I already knew. I always like to host things. I actually also had, I would record myself on cassette, and I had my own little radio show that I would do. So that's what's so funny, that I ended up on the radio like 20, 25 years later, because as a kid, I was really obsessed. This is just like a side story. I was really obsessed with dinosaurs. So I would always get dinosaur books as gifts, and I would record myself reading these books, but turn it into a show. So it was like, hello and welcome to Dinosaur AM. And this is a show about dinosaurs. And I'd read about dinosaurs. Anyways, I'm sure I have those cassettes somewhere. So maybe we'll play it on air one day. That was my little side story. But yeah, because of that, exactly. There was a school talent show. I think it was grade 5, grade 6. I was asked to host the talent show because I by no means was like never really taught to sing or to do art or whatever. So I was like, yeah, for sure, I'll host this talent show. And there were performers doing like a dance number and singing. And I like didn't catch the right cue. And as they were still performing, I came in and was like, thank you so much for performing and thank you for having us. And I completely missed the cue to the point where one of the performers like turned around, looked at me and was like, we're not done. And like, I really just missed it and was just like so embarrassed and like sank back. And like now I'm like, whatever, no big deal, right? But it was literally that like elementary school in front of the whole school. Oh my God, not only did I miss a cue, I interrupted an art performance because I thought they were done and they had to pause and then go again. So yeah, that was my little moment. Anyone else?
I mean, I feel like, oh, Laura, okay, let's go with Laura and hear what you have to say.
Well, yeah, because I have a similar experience.
All our childhood traumas are coming out right now.
All in elementary school. So like just think, very formative. Elementary school, clearly around grade 5, grade 6 are very formative.
But this is really helpful. My nerves are calming down because we've all kind of gone through similar things. So I was also in the 6th grade, and it was our when I went to primary school, they didn't provide like a ceremony at the end. So the parents ended up going, you know what, we'll throw them a ceremony. So we ended up doing that in the gym of our school. And there were performances, and we had practiced with people in my class to sing Never Say Never by Justin Bieber. And midway through the song, we're singing the song. Everyone knows me to be a singer at this point. And partway through the song, I don't know what happens. I get in my head and I sing the wrong part as everyone's singing the part that's supposed to be the part. And I'm like more in the end of it, and it shows completely. I like ruin the song, and everyone's staring at me, and I don't know what to do. We end the song, and I'm just like, oh no, what have I done?
I know, right?
For everybody
into a hole.
Yeah, I felt so much shame. I don't know. Every time I go through these kind of things, and I feel like I've gone through so many of this, I feel so much shame, and I just want to hide in a corner and apologize to everyone who listened to me.
No. And you know, like sometimes you're like just about to fall asleep at night, and like some random embarrassing moment pops into your head and gives you anxiety, or just like these random moments. That's the moment that always pops into my head of that little girl turning around and being like, we're not done, friends. And like messing up the whole performance.
That was in my nightmares.
Literally. Veronica, what's in your nightmares?
I think it was around the same time as well. I mean, embarrassing. Matilda always tell me that I have a bulletproof ego, so that's kind of true. When I do something a little bit embarrassing, I'm just like, it happens. It's okay, you know. I was about to say when I was in, I think grade 5 or grade 6, I did attend a pageant because the Filipinos, you know, we do this type of pageant, and they were like, okay, so they're doing the rampa, so you walk in this and you pose and you pose. I can't walk apparently like a girl or like a woman. I don't know. At this point, I started skating as well. So the way I walk is like the V shape, as if I'm gliding. And that's just how the way I walk to this day. And people say like, oh yeah, I can see that is Veronica because the way that person walks is Veronica. So I remember when we were practicing, we're walking, and the person who's coordinating was just like, oh, why is she walking like that? And everyone started murmuring. And I'm just like, this is how I walk. And then they just started walking back again. So I think I kind of felt like on the spot being like, oh, it's embarrassing that I walk like that. But then I'm just like, what do you want me to do? You know, like I literally cannot do the catwalk. My thighs are much bigger and such. So I just like, nah. So I feel like, okay, that's the first thing that I thought when we were thinking about icebreaker, but now coming back to it, I think the one that's really embarrassing for me was when I played violin and I played Silent Night during Christmas time at I think at Malaki, Saint Malaki. And it was a 2 pages or something, or 3 pages, and I think I skipped 1 pages. So when I was following 1 pages and I was almost done to go to the other pages, I put the wrong pages differently, and so it was just like finish this and then finish, and then the second page is already done, and so it was like so fast, like less than 1 minute, and then people were just like, there was just like a silence the whole time, like no one was clapping, and I'm just like, and then people were just like, oh, one more time, we wanted more, and I'm just like, oh, okay. But that was a time where sometimes when I'm just like out and I'm like seeing a violin, I'm like, oh yeah, I do remember that time, when Facebook shows you like memories from 10 years ago. I was like, yeah, I blacked out, I got scared when I was playing violin, and I skipped to the end part of it, so it was really, really short. And they were really nice. They were like, oh, Uncle, one more time. So I'm like, okay. So I did it one more time and I did great after that. But the first one, it was like, that was the first time I did public performance, and it was like violin and such. So I was like, oh. But yeah, that was my embarrassing public performance. Stay tuned for us to get to know more about Lorra and performances. We will have more conversation behind it. So stay tuned, and you're listening to
Radio Kapwa. I love it when Vero just ends her sentence there to make room for me to come in. Just right up Radio Kapwa. Anyways, up next, we have some music. Can you guess what I'm about to play next? We said Lorra was an artist, and I just know she loves sharing her music to the world. So I'm going to take the initiative and just press play right here. There we go.
You today, so glad you're here to stay. Even if you did try to die, baby, can't imagine if I didn't get to say I love you during every waking day. Can finally call you mine. What I've been trying to find has been in front of me this whole time. After all of this time, you stay on my mind, make me unravel my disguise. I see my future in your eyes. The world stops with just one kiss. One look at you, I feel bliss. No way to replicate a love like this. Can't do it unless it's me and you. Nobody makes me feel the way you do. Oh, we've tried so many times, let other players cross the lines just to fuck and miss. It is what it is. Had to wait for this. What I've been trying to find has been in front of me this whole time. After all of this time.
Kalayaan?
Hi, Kala.
Ooh, I see you.
Did you
I
get the
see
right?
you.
Do you have the bagel?
Oh, it looks like he's eating the bagel.
Can our tita see your bagel?
Can I see the bagel? Bring it to the camera.
Please.
Oh.
Is it rainbow?
No, it's normal color.
Rainbow.
Oh, on the other side.
I don't know if I have the strength to overcome this. Playing back memories I miss. Remember when I used to love you, so I couldn't even get you on the phone. While you go and play with your own, I'll make sure to never stoop as low. Baby, nothing that I wouldn't do. So done with you, got me in blue, not about you no more. Finally gave myself the love I gave you. I'm brand new, who are you? Took a puff, said enough, shit's too rough. All I wanted, you liked, it was love. Oh, I'm a dime, baby, you see. Should've never set me free. Out of time, G-boy, you're gonna miss me. You'll miss me. Best of friends since way back when love was right for us. Back then, used to think you were heaven sent. Things are clearer now in the end. Soon you'll realize I did the most, babe. In the past, now it's the way you'll go, baby. Nothing that I wouldn't do. So done with you, got me in blue, not about you no more. Finally gave myself the love I gave you. I'm brand new, who are you? Took a puff, said enough, shit's too rough. All I wanted, you liked, it was love. Oh, I'm a dime, baby, you see. Should've never set me free. Out of time, G-boy, you're gonna miss me. You're gonna
Thank you all for listening. That was two of Laura's songs. The first one was called Eyes with a Z, and the second was called Miss Me. Moving on to our next segment, let's pass it over to France.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Radio Kapwa on CKUT 90.3 FM. If you are just joining us now, welcome, welcome. We're going to be interviewing the lovely Lorra Caluya, who also happens to be our sound engineer. If you've been listening to us from the beginning of the show, I just want to take the time to send love to our inner embarrassed children. Please. Our little icebreaker question was about, just embarrassing like public speaking or like performative moments, and all of our moments were literally from childhood, 5th or 6th grade. So now as older community members, older community ates, titas, tatos, I just want to say to our younger children, it's cool, no big deal. It comes with the territory. It comes with learning how to like express yourself, right? So sending healing to our inner embarrassed children. So really happy to be able to get to know Lorra a little bit more. I know that you hear her voice every week, and she does a lot of the background work with the amazing Justin to make sure that we sound good every week, because these episodes are pre-recorded just for accessibility to our community. But yeah, so let's take that time to get to know our amazing Lorra. Lorra, do you want to start by introducing yourself?
Hi, I'm Laura. um, introduce myself. I feel like I'm a lot of things, but mostly I'm a singer-songwriter. I feel like I am a vessel of my feelings, and I think that that is just what I'm here for.
I love
To be a
that.
vessel for my
I
feelings.
love that.
And I'm also a sound engineer. I work in the background on Radyo Kapwa. I record music, yeah, and all that fun stuff.
And please, I love that. I am, what was it? I am a vessel of my emotions, or a
Yeah.
vessel of my feelings. Yes, say that over and over again. That was like, when you said that, that like just it evoked something inside of me. There was something that like really powerful happened when you said that. So I love that. Tell us, Lorra, how did your passion for music start?
Ooh, oh, well, not the earliest memory. From what my mom told me, when I was in her belly, she used to play Celine Dion on her belly, so that I would listen to Celine Dion and hopefully be Celine Dion. And honestly, I think I carried it with me when I came out of the womb and forward, because I started singing when I was 2. And every karaoke, every parent was like, sing, sing, sing. And eventually I know I got tired of it with age, but like, I know that kind of trained me to a little bit to sing in front of people and to use my voice, which I think is important.
Oh my gosh, were you the kid that they would always point to and be like, sample, sample,
Yes,
sample?
I was
That
the
was
kid,
you,
but I
right?
have the biggest nerves, so it's like every time I did, I always tried, because I was always like, you know what, I'm gonna do the thing that scares me, but I messed up so many times. I was always so nervous, and I never wanted to be the person that did the sample, but I did it anyway.
So I think this is actually a really great way to kind of connect to another question that we always ask folks, of like connecting to culture. Like, so in what ways did exploring your passion for music or exploring music connect you to your Filipino culture? And let's add that
Wow.
layer of like your Filipino culture and your Filipino queer culture.
Yeah. Wow. Honestly, along with Filipino culture, like being in music isn't a job that they want you to have. Well, being in music, anything in music generally. And um at first I did musical theater in high school, and that I loved so much, and it's something that I want to do again in the future, but it didn't connect me to my culture. It connected me to music more, and it's what showed me that I was attached to music. But when I ended high school, I ended up going into psychology instead, because my mom didn't want me to be in music, and I really found music when I decided I'm quitting psychology. I've proven to all of you that I am capable of getting it this far. Now I'm quitting psychology and going into music. And it was when I turned my back on my family that I really found myself and my culture in music. Because it's when I started talking about how I felt in my culture. So in my songs, I write about how I feel in my skin color, uh, how I feel as a Filipina. And I wouldn't have been able to do that without separating myself from what my parents wanted for me.
Yeah, and for those who don't know us and who haven't seen us in public, like Desiree and Laura are definitely the more darker, beautifully brown skinned Pinays, whereas like Veronica and I are a little bit lighter. I mean, once I go in the sun, I definitely can catch up, because that's how our skin develops and manifests when we are sun kissed. But Laura and Desiree are like naturally beautifully dark brown, right? But I know that like that also comes with the complexities of colorism in our culture, right?
Were you told to stay out of the sun too, Laura?
Yes, all the time, but I did anyway. I know I should put sunscreen, but I was also like didn't want to put sunscreen on when I was younger. I would get really, really dark and they would call me dirty and yeah,
Funny.
I felt really bad about my skin color. And even in like primary school, like because our parents had this mentality of the skin color being dark and it being ugly, when I would wear lighter colors, kids in the playground at school would be like, "Oh, it's so ugly. Don't wear that color. It makes your skin look darker." Why? Like, yeah, just things like that.
My gosh, it's so deep. It's so real. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
So we started this episode perfectly with sending healing to our younger selves, right? Because
Yeah.
we have to embrace the embarrassing moments and
Mhm.
embrace our beautiful brown skin.
Yeah. And in my music, I started falling in love with my skin color and caring for
Mm.
my skin color and knowing that one parent, one of my best friend's parent, looked at me and said, "You have the original Filipino color," and that's when I was like,
I
"Yes."
love that.
Oh, I love that person.
Oh.
Love it so
Yeah,
much.
and that helped me.
So when is the baby bubbles coming out with your brown skin? Mm-hmm.
It's actually in the
love
works
that
right
song.
now. Yeah, so I recorded 3 different versions of that song. I'm going to release 2 of the 3 different versions, and I'm working on a project. It's either going to be an EP or an album, and I'm going to release in 2023 that has that song in it. Yeah, Baby Bubbles.
So for those who are still listening, our dear Laura, our sound engineer, actually does have her own art available on Spotify. For the moment, it's 2 musics that sometimes is on repeat for my side. It's actually actually came out in my top 20 most listened music for some because I just like it's 2 music. So I'm like to hype myself up for the day on the way to work. Let me just listen to a kapwa singing and such. So Laura, Lorr on Spotify, if you're interested to listen to her very smooth, silky, velvety voice, just like enveloping you, please support Laura. I mean, we want her to thrive. I want you to thrive. I think once in a while I'll be like, so when is the next music coming out, right? Because you do perform this live, but you still don't have the studio version, and now you do have a studio version. So we really are looking forward for that, especially where you talk about your feelings, especially when you touches the colorism part, which is very important in our community, because just like what Fran says, I am more on the lighter side, skin color side, but once the sun kissed me, I'm like the darkest. And this was actually something that I noticed growing up, because I was actually never told not to stay on the sun. My mom was just like, kids play outside. That's what they do, you know? And my mom was very good at saying how like black is beautiful, right? In terms of like getting darker. And I used to figure skate, and figure skating in the Philippines is more of like an elite, like rich people thing, those who have the means. And most of my co-skaters are really, really light skin, and I'm one of the darkest. And I think my mom has seen that I feel a little bit more self-conscious at the fact that I'm more dark skin, and that's why my mom's like, it's okay, like do you know that in mga Americano, this is what they like. And this is actually pretty, like, it's true, because when I arrive in here, walking to Dekari, and I cross the street, someone was just like literally like a white lady just touched my skin when we were waiting to cross the sticks.
Ew, Karen's.
I know. It was a Karen move, and she was smoking, and then she just like went like, I think it was like Nev's age, because I was at that time when I arrived, touched my skin, and she goes, "Where you from?" And my mom's like, "She's from the Philippines." Grabbed me, put me on the other side, and she goes, "Oh, like just like such a nice like skin, you guys have a lot of like beaches there, right?" We're like, "Yes," and my mom was like, "Yes," and we just like move forward, because it was like, what, you just randomly touch child and their skin and start fetishizing them like that. It was now that I'm older, I see that my mom's just like very much on guard and being like, you just touch random children like that, like what? But some people might think that like, oh, you see, they love us. But my mom, who's always been honing my confidence and self-esteem, was just like, black is beautiful,
Questionable.
but don't touch my child, that type of thing. And that kind of made me feel great, because I'm like, oh, like obviously I'm very different visibly with other people, with these white people, and they do notice that. Like that was like my first month coming in here, but my mom's like not having it. So that made me feel like, oh, I guess I am Filipino. Like you can see it visibly, I am Filipino. So this is a good segue for me to ask you that, in what we also know that you were born in here, so that's a loaded question, but in what ways you were told you weren't Filipino enough?
Exactly that, colorism. Like, yeah, like because I was darker skinned, I felt like I wasn't Filipino enough. Because I didn't speak the language, I wasn't Filipino enough. Therefore, I tried so hard during my childhood to look for that. Being born here, it was like I wasn't born with my culture. It kind of was like I had to go and seek it. I had to go look for it and find it in other people. It wasn't something my parents talked to me about very much or at all.
They're too busy.
Yeah, they were too busy. They were too busy. So I went to different churches because a lot of like Filipinos go to church. I went to different churches so that I could experience God in different ways, but so also that I could experience community in a different way. But also there, like no matter what, skin color was always a thing. Like you're dark, you're dark, you're dark was something I heard a lot. So yeah, it's that those were the ways that I felt like I wasn't Filipino enough. But growing up and wanting to learn the culture, I felt I found my own kind of shelter in a sense where because I wanted to learn about it so bad, I did. And when I would hear like Filipinos talking like smack about other people or about me, I pretended not to know the language. And when I would say bye, I would go, "Ingat tita."
I love it. Just to say like, I understood what you said.
Yeah. And that was me asserting myself, I think, in some ways where I'm like, I am Filipino. Yeah.
100%. And I think we're just like all tired of being put in these boxes. And that's like what falls into the core values of what we do with Radyo Kapwa and Centre Kapwa, right? Of like letting everyone know that every Filipino has their version of being Filipino, and like that's totally okay. And I get into these conversations too a lot with like a lot of youth when they find out kind of like what I do, and first of all, it always boggles their mind that I focus on the Filipino community, because how could that even be a thing, right? But we deserve that focus. We deserve all that attention. But I always say to like, what I always saddens me to hear is they're like, oh no, I don't want to get involved in the community because Filipino culture is toxic. And while like 100% I want to validate that, like there's so many pieces of our culture that are super toxic and super unhealthy. It's important to remind each other that like culture shifts and changes and grows, and we have the power to be those catalysts for change of like, this part of the culture doesn't work for me. What are the ones that are great and that we can move forward?
And we can, exactly. It continues to be Filipino culture, and we can change that. We can change the ways that it works from the inside. And I wanted to tell a story. Do you guys mind?
Go
About
ahead.
colorism. In high school, I had a friend. She's from Jamaica, and because I was of a darker skin color, I was using whitening products. And to me, that was completely normal. And to my friends, nobody wanted to say anything to me. Even the people who understood that it wasn't quite okay. I was living blissfully. I was like, I'm using my whitening soaps. I'm getting lighter. My skin's getting dry, but it's okay. I'm getting lighter. And one day we were on a trip to Florida with my school, and I offered it to one of my Black friends.
Is it a glutathione soap or is it papaya soap?
Papaya soap.
Okay.
And I was like, it makes you lighter. And because I was, I didn't know, I was living blissfully, and I'm like, I should be lighter. This is good. You know what I mean? I offered it to her, and she held this anger for years. She didn't tell me how she felt about it or anything. And it wasn't until like I had posted something on Instagram where I was like, in the Philippines, like colorism is the thing, things like that. And my parents used to call me, they used to say, you come from the poop of a Carabao.
Yep.
In this family.
Awful.
But they didn't have bad intentions, but I know. Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta love hearing the moms in this show right now being like,
and then and that's when she was like, I didn't know that was something that was going on in your culture as well. And I was so angry at you, but I realized we were going through the same things.
Yep.
And that was like really eye-opening for me.
And it's really beautiful that like your friendship withstood all that, because that could be so hurtful, right? but there's something there that she understood that like it came from a place of love,
Yeah.
but also like this really toxic
Yeah.
culture.
It
And I
also
find
shows.
yeah, and
Sorry,
they
yeah.
also get you with like brightening soap,
Yeah.
right? You're like, no, brightening just means whitening.
Yeah,
Like,
brightening
let's
just
be
means
real,
whitening.
you know?
Yeah.
So
It
you
also speaks on the fact that like yes, our parents can put this on us, but we can also put it on other people that aren't part of our family, that are just our friends, that they might feel the same way that you feel, or they might feel bad about their skin color because you felt that way.
Because you projected it.
Yeah, because you projected it without knowing, you know what I mean? You could have the best
Mhm.
of intentions. Yeah.
exactly. You were like, I want my sis to look good, so do you want to share this?
Yeah, this is what the world wants. You know, I was so
Oh.
ignorant to the idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were
And
saying the story, and I was just like, yeah, I was like when I'd lend my lip gloss to someone in high school, you know,
Yeah.
like from a place of care. But it's crazy how, and that's why like the oppression is systemic, right? It's so deep within the system that we don't realize, and it's just like so normalized, and we think it's from a place of care. It's so scary.
Yeah.
So I love that we're kind of consciously trying to change the culture, right?
Yeah.
So that being said, this question that we ask everyone at the end of our episode is, what does kapwa mean to you? And just as a reminder for maybe like newer listeners or listeners who haven't come in a while, or folks who just need a reminder, there's different ways to describe kapwa. There's no direct English translation, but basically what it means is this inner sense of interconnectedness we have towards each other, like as human beings. And like, I love how Des always puts it really simply of like, there is no you without me, and there's no me without you, right? So it's like any move we make that's harmful literally harms everyone, right? So what does kapwa mean to you? And also just Lorra, in retrospect of all these episodes you've been recording and working on, because like we come in and we listen to the conversation once, right, while we're doing it, and then we listen to it once it's already pieced together so beautifully by you and Justin. But as someone who's been listening to these answers over and over again from different people in the community, which is a beautiful privilege, what does kapwa mean to you?
Oh, I think everyone has encapsulated what Kapwa is, because it's so many different, it's so many things, not different things, but things. It's community, it's ka in general, which is kaibigan, which is friends. It's us finding compromise with each other. It's us understanding the good and the bad and loving nonetheless, and just working through love to find connection, to understand each other and to move forward.
mic drop. That was so beautiful.
And as you say, as Laura says this, for those of you, I mean, everyone is listening, you can't see, but there's like this beautiful light that's just shines on this conversation. And as we record this episode, there's just this beautiful light coming into my office right now. And I feel like the light was brighter when you said, I am a vessel of my feelings as well. So yes, and mic drop. So thank you, Laura, for showing us a little the other parts of your heart and your life, and for sharing your stories. And thank you for everyone for tuning in to today's episode of Radio Kapwa on CKUT 90.3. We will see you next Wednesday at 2 p.m.
Hey, Justin here, finishing up with some community announcements. Starting today and the next Wednesdays of the month, P10 Montreal is hosting an art workshop with ceramics with ash, open to youth ages 18 to 25. It's on Thursdays of the month, as well as free for teens ages 14 to 17. You can check their Instagram at P10 Montreal. On Friday, March 10th from 5 to 7 p.m., QPIRG McGill organized a discussion with Dr. Ayesha Khan at Woke Scientist on Instagram about decolonizing health and medicine, reimagining community care. You can visit QPIRG's Instagram at QPIRG McGill for more information. Lastly, Centre Kapwa will be present with their members such as Laura and Ka Collective as workshop facilitators and performers for Coco's Remembering Finissage party at Control Labs as part of Arts Matters. For more information, visit at Centre Kapwa any of our Ka Collective members, such as at Fried Chicken Vixen, at Alan Matt Studio, as well as bakla_AF. This is Radio Kapwa on CKUT 90.3 FM, where all Filipinos are Filipino enough. Thank you for listening and have a wonderful week.